Hey guys, so this is Echo. This is the first review. Actually, I'm going to do this one, and then if this is helpful, then you guys can message me or tell me if you want me to do it for the other units. Basically, what I'm going to do, if you look on the screen, I'm going to follow the syllabus or that syllabus printout that I gave you guys in class. So you guys have if you open the syllabus file, which I mentioned in the previous video, you can find it in files from Teams, and then go to page 13. See that? Go to page 13 of the syllabus, and then you have what I had printed out for you in class. And this goes all the way to, I think I printed for you until chapter 5, which I won't be getting into after you finish your first exam. So 13 to 20, right? So unit 1 is what I'll go through real quickly. I'm not going to go through these PowerPoint slides. You can actually do that. There's a couple of ways that you can review. If you have time and you're going to review slowly, then you can go to Files of Teams, and then you see Unit 1 folder here. And these slides should be in order, 1, 2, 3, 4 through 9. Okay. What you could do is open up each slide and then have your book open too. I would suggest the slides aren't enough information, but they do have the basics. These slides have everything coming from the book, so it's almost the same. If you have actually some extra time to go review the book again, which is what I'm going to follow through, then I would suggest you to do that. So you can do it through the slides, but today I'm just going to use the book on the screen. I'm not going to really go through it that much, like page for page, but let me go ahead and open a new window here and have kind of a side-by-side going on. All right. And you can do that too if you have a big screen. But I'm just doing this to show you guys. So at least you'd be able to see. Okay. It's not going to be perfect, but anyway. I'm really highlighting the syllabus because all of this information that's sectioned out, like 1.1a, bullet points, B, bullet points, these are like the basic things that you guys need to know for your exam. And if anything will come up in the exam in terms of keywords, it'll be from the syllabus, because the syllabus lays out all the things that you should know for each chapter. And it really follows through with the book. The book doesn't really divide it visually that easily. So let me first tell you guys that section 1.1 is pages 3 through 17. So it doesn't really go into, I think this first section, it doesn't give you the headings like the syllabus does. It says 1.1, understand and explain the structure of the international travel and tourism industry. So you don't see that heading, but once you get into the bullet points, you kind of see these words in this first section from pages 3 through 17. So definitions of the industry, basically they want you to know this vocabulary at the least. So let's see. This looks a little different from the book. No. Okay, so travel and tourism products and services. Oh, because I'm in unit 4, that's why. Okay, make sure you have the right pages open. So even on Teams, I put in scans of your book, right? So I'm going to go to the scans that I made for you guys. So I have to actually open Unit 1. I have 3 different PDFs for Unit 1. Okay, here we go. The travel and tourism industry. So anything that's in bold text, domestic tourist, outgoing tourist, long haul, short haul. Like here, they kind of gave you just examples of how they would use these words. You actually need to know these words, but a lot of these words, you kind of get the explanation as you go further in the text. But since that's confusing, basically you just want to look. All right, here's travel. What is travel? And what different kinds of travel are there? There's leisure, business, and VFR. Pretty basic. You guys should know that by now. And then there are travel services. Okay, retail, um, business, travel agencies, tour operators, and principals. Right. So these are things that are kind of bolded out here in the first section. All right, but later on they will go more into detail on what they are. Like what principles are, what are considered tourism services. So national and regional tourist boards. Um, these are organizations that are there to help people at the national level or the regional level on how tourism will go, how they will promote tourism for different purposes, different areas. What are tourism information centers, TICs? Tourist classifications, the different types of tourists that they have. That who are the tourists? So this is what you do. You want to go through the text and do like a quick review here. Yeah, in the syllabus it didn't say, but here you have business tourists. Don't forget you have to remember MICE, what MICE are, right? Meetings, incentive, conferences, and exhibitions. Those are different ways that business tourism happens, and the different reasons why business tourists go for their trips for work. There's VFR. Let's see. All right, and then it gets into roles of the subsectors. So that kind of goes back into like these first sections of bullet points. What are principles? What are multiples? Just do a little review on what they are. The slides also help you, but basically the slides are just coming from the text here. So I actually prefer you guys go through the textbook and do a review. Okay. And you have the chain of distribution here. I think that's what they mentioned. Yeah, the chain of distribution. Basically, you want to have an idea of what this little chart is talking about. It starts with the providers. These are the principals, the main components of the travel and tourism industry. And then you have tour operators, which are also considered wholesalers, who are packaging them and then handing them off to retail travel agencies and then to the customers. And then the customers can actually get it from any of these. I don't know why there's not an arrow straight to the provider, which is an option. I think another chart later on shows that. So yeah, this is how you do your review. If you're probably wondering what are just some of the important things that you have to remember, that's not the good question, because if you look at the past papers, the topics are all over the place. So sometimes they'll get a big topic, sometimes they'll ask you on a small topic. But the real tip that I have for you guys is that you have to know these sections really well. Because even if you know some of like just the basic definitions, you'll have to know what those vocabulary and key terms mean in the context, right? So for example, if they talked about chain of distribution as your question, then you would be able to explain it, right? But if they talked about, I think one of the questions that you guys had practiced was, what, where can the customers go to get their products from? If that was one of your questions, then what would you say? And if they didn't say chain of distribution in that question, you probably have to automatically remember the customers have three different sources: the provider, the tour operator, or the travel agency. And what are the different ways that they can get these products and services? And then you would have to know this section to be able to explain that well. All right. And then we'll go to B, awareness of the roles of tourist boards, travel agents, tour operators, accommodation providers. So each of these purple subheadings start to get into what they do. What are accommodation providers? Well, all of the different accommodations that are out there, and how do they provide services for the customers? Right? And they're all a bit different. So you kind of want to know what the differences are. Not only know all the different kinds, but also what the differences are. What are catering outlets? Catering, talking about food. Okay. Entertainment venues, transport providers. Transport providers, talking about air, land, and sea. What is coach transport? Okay. And then I said pages 3 through 17, right? So basically this whole section 1.1 is going all the way to page 17, right? So there you go. If you guys are doing this, basically you can just do this as like a check mark off a whole checklist of things to review. So up to page 17, you're done reviewing for section 1.1 of the syllabus, okay? Don't take too much time on this stuff. If you know something, then you can just pretty much skip over it. Just go to the things that aren't familiar to you when you go through these bullet points in the syllabus, okay? Section 1.2 looks like it starts on page 18 and goes all the way through page 35 for section 1.2. And these are the different impacts, right? This is huge, actually. I really hope that you guys review this section 1.2, because for sure, at least one of these questions from the exam is going to be touching on this. I would say more than one, okay? Because this is like a very big section of chapter 1, and they're going to expect you to be able to answer something from economic impacts, environmental impacts, or social cultural impacts, okay? So definitely review this stuff. For the economic impacts, it's on starting pages 18 here. Where is it? Oh, sorry, page 19 actually. Starting page 19 all the way to page 22. All right. So for the economic impacts, you want to review each of these bullet points. What's tourism contribution to the balance of payments and employment? I'm going to stop right here. I find this very interesting. Again, I said this in class. You probably learned this in economics, and if you did, I hope you remember it. If you don't, then you're not going to get that much of a review from me or the book, because the book doesn't really talk about balance of payments so much. But so basically, I'm going to tell you this. Balance of payments is talking about the comparison of money that goes in and that goes out of the country according to how much the tourists spend in the country, or against how much the travelers from the country that are going to another country are spending outside of the country. All right, so you're really thinking about money that's coming in from foreigners, and then money that's going out from the local people going somewhere else to vacation. Right. Another one is how they balance and compare the money of goods, because the one before that is talking about how people bring money, in and out. Now we're going to talk about goods, so things that are exported and things that are imported, and then that starts going into the leakages on how money is leaving the country so that you can bring in goods. Right? Is money actually coming into the country because there's export happening? And then that's not really talking about travel and tourism that much at that point. But all you have to know is that that's the basic idea. They actually try to measure if there's a good balance of money coming in and going out of the country because of tourism stuff. You don't have to know any more than that. And how would you know further about certain things like balance of payments or anything else that you see in the syllabus, but you don't actually see in the book that clearly? In the previous video, I had posted or I had mentioned about a link. If I hadn't, then I'm going to show you right now where I had posted that. So you go into the general tab, there's a link that brings you to the Google Books of this textbook. And in the general tab, that's the ongoing meeting right now. Oh, it's here. Get there. All right. You have to open it up because there's more replies than one. Sorry, I got some lag over here. Okay, so I had it, but I lost it. Okay, so that's the first video that I put in about how to look over the mark scheme. In the reply section, I put this link in so that you can actually do a search from this link on certain keywords that you can't find in your textbook. Okay, so it looks like this, and then you put in your keyword here. So for example, I was just looking to see where is balance of payments. You know, it's just like anything else. If you put too many words in, they'll say they didn't find anything. So I just wrote balance. And then they give you the page numbers of where the word balance comes up. Before you even go, you want to see which one is balance of payments. Here, page 35, balance of payments. And then again, there's page 38, balance of payments. I went to both of these pages and they don't really talk about much of what balance of payments is. If you're scared about one question being dedicated to balance of payments, which has happened already in the past paper, so I don't think it's going to happen again, just go to Google and then just do a light research, balance of payments and travel and tourism. And then I found this link about a paper explaining what is balance of payments in the travel and tourism industry. Okay, kind of helpful, but it gets a little too technical, so I wouldn't waste that much time. But I just wanted to show you this link. It helps you save time if you can't find something in the book that quickly. All right, so use that because I use it a lot if I'm looking for stuff. Right. So let's go back to the syllabus and try to finish this up real quick. So you have economic impacts, which are on pages 18 through 22. Go through these bullet points, really important. What is the multiplier effect? All right, tourism multipliers. That's down here where you start seeing the chart. All right, what is the impact on the local economy? When we talk about economics, you're going to be talking about the positive and the negative. So the positive things are it creates jobs, right? It brings money into the economy. It produces a multiplier effect. You have to understand how the multiplier effect works. You look at this chart and then you see where is the money going, starting from the tourists, and then you follow the arrow, all right? And these are the things that you'll be able to write, okay? When money comes in because of tourism, it creates jobs. And then because of these jobs, the workers, they get a good income and they spend their money on the local area, and then tax revenues increase. Follow the arrows, and then just continue being able to explain. Right. These are where you get more points for your explanation. Okay. So then you have negative impacts of tourism. Definitely understand. Ooh, they don't even really talk about what inflation is, but here it's kind of hinting at you that they might ask you about what is inflation in terms of the impacts of negative impacts of tourism. Review the leakages. Okay, import leakage, export leakage, opportunity costs. Where's that? See, this is what I'm talking about. So just as another final example, I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to go for the link and look for opportunity. This is where it gets frustrating. And then if it's too much for you, like in terms of time being wasted, then I wouldn't go and get into it. Right? Let's see. I typed in opportunity cost, and it says page 71, which is very far from where we are. Yeah, this has just caught me by surprise because I don't remember saying that. All right. Yeah, don't worry about it. If you do want to get into a Google search, maybe what opportunity costs are as it relates to travel and tourism, my only guess is that when it comes to uh, investment of businesses, there's something about it not being, it sounds like a positive thing, but in terms of negative, it could be that it might not be an easy thing to start businesses according to the negative. Anyway, I'm not going to take too much time on it. Over dependence, that is obviously in this section right here, right? Another word for over dependence is over reliance. Okay, so that is economic impacts, right? Next is environmental impacts. I'll just give you the page numbers, page 23 through 30, and that's just from the book. You just look over environmental impacts. What is the importance of the environment? If you don't have the environment, a lot of times you don't have much to see, and you don't have anything to invest in. In terms of positive effects, you have investment, which is being able to, in terms of the government, being able to use the tax revenue money to invest in these following things: conservation, regeneration, and visitor management. So you have a nice environment, but you need to be able to keep it for a long time. So conservation is a must. Conservation is just kind of a similar word to trying to preserve and keep things for a long time in terms of the environment. Regeneration is trying to take an environment that's not doing so well and trying to make it grow again. All right, planting trees, putting in, I think, new measures to be able to make sure that things are protected and continue to go in the right direction to make things more green. And then that also, all of these are kind of tied together. Visitor management, you need that to happen. If you want people to come and actually enjoy the environment, which is a good thing because that does bring in revenue, you have to understand there's a lot of erosion, pollution, just a lot of deterioration that happens because people just come through. The more people you have coming through, you need more management. And then you have the negative effects. Obviously, you have the different types of pollution. Consider the wildlife, consider water, vegetation, air, all these other things. Okay. Political pollution issues such as congestion. Okay, so sometimes the syllabus seems to focus on things that the book doesn't focus on. So it's good for you to kind of look it over and go through the perspective of the syllabus too. Sociocultural is on pages 30 through 35. Starting here. All right, the demonstration effect, that's like the number one. You definitely need to review what that is. And the nature of the tourist and host encounter. Interesting, I don't know how they worded it like that. Anyway, you have the demonstration effect. Positive. All right, demonstration effect was negative, right? Okay. The nature of the tourist and host encounter. I think it's just for you guys to understand that when tourists come in to a destination or a local area, there's an encounter, there's an interaction that takes place. Okay, it's that feeling that you have, when some outsider or foreigner comes into your space and you're like, oh, that's interesting. I'm not used to seeing that. It's kind of like that idea of, is that going to be a positive thing or is it going to be a negative thing? And not just in that moment, but for the future, if this is going to happen regularly, right? And then what gets affected? Does Does the social atmosphere get affected? Will cultural things be affected? In what positive ways and what negative ways? And that's where you get into the impacts. Okay, so go to those bullet points for sure. If something in the syllabus is not clear in the textbook, don't worry about it. It's probably just a different way of wording stuff. And you guys just have to kind of like put it together. Okay. Next is the next page on your worksheet, on your syllabus handout is 1.3. Identify the role of national governments in forming tourism policy and promotion. All right, the government obviously cares about how tourism goes on in their destination. So there's only two points here, but that's on pages 35 through 40, which is this one. And then you kind of want to brush up on reviewing the different aims and objectives of the government: economic, political, socio-cultural, and environmental. And these are the ways that you can do it from the government's perspective on how they want tourism to grow in their country. All right, economic, very close to what you had just reviewed for the economic impacts. Political starts to get a little different. They kind of highlight that it's important for lessees because this is something that they need to change. What do they need to change if you're a lessee country and you're trying to promote it? There's this negative stigma, or maybe there's no idea of what that country is. So it's like, does it even have a reputation? Do people even know about that country? And if they do, most likely people will be like, we don't know that country that well because politically it doesn't do well, or economically it doesn't do well. It's a very poor country. So the government has to change that perspective. You have to change the reputation, the way that people are thinking about that country, right? That's one thing that they really have to be involved in. Social, cultural. The government really needs to take care of the impacts, the possible negative impacts, social, cultural impacts that tourism might have on that country, and how to preserve these cultural things, because once tourism becomes big in a place, it's possible that the culture starts to change, and for many reasons, right? And then they also have to be the ones trying to maintain the environment of their country or their destination. Okay, because they have the authority to do so. So they also have the tax revenue to be able to use that money to put management and maintenance in place for these things. Okay, so there are in letter A the role of national and regional tourist boards. So they're just dividing it. National tourist boards are just dealing with their country and how they are perceived internationally. Regional tourist boards, their focus is on their region, the tourism that happens in their region, right? So NTOs can't really, National Tourism Organization, NTOs cannot really take care of all the tourism in their country, especially if it's a big country. So they have to divide it up into different regions. And each region has its own RTO so that they can focus on the tourism just in that region or province. Okay. B, provision of travel and tourism information centers in country and out of country, right? So that's right here. Okay, so we want to review that. And then the last section, section 1.4, investigate the patterns of demand for international travel and tourism. I didn't highlight this during class so much because I don't think this is really going to be that important. I haven't seen a past paper question on this, but you can just kind of skim through it. Patterns of demand for international tourism, historic trends and international tourism, volume and value, major tourism generators and receiving countries in the world. All right. Yeah, so you can just go through that and just keep that in mind, I guess. So yeah, that is all of Unit 1. All right. Each of these units are very important, but I would say, try to keep these subsections in mind while you guys are reviewing, because sometimes questions are just focusing on certain subsections and then the letters of the subsections. Okay, right. I know this is a lot, but it's like if you can kind of get the structure of how these different units are trying to give information, then you'll have a good idea of how to remember or recall information for you to write for your exam, right? So that's it for Unit 1. You guys can continue reviewing if you want me to do more of these videos. I can't, obviously, this has taken about half an hour just going through the syllabus without getting into that much information. I'm just kind of guiding you on how to use the syllabus and the textbook to be able to do this review in a better way. But you guys would do better if you just go through the syllabus and the textbook and even the slides if you have time on your own. But let me know if you want me to do units 2, 3, and 4. All right. Especially if there's something you don't understand. All right. Obviously, not much time until the exam, so you guys want to use your time efficiently. So please message me or let me know if you don't understand something. You want to take, I would say you want to take half the time to completely review units 1 through 4, and then use another half the rest of your time to study and go through the past papers that I mentioned in the previous video. Okay, doesn't matter which one you go through, just open one up and then go through each question and then look at the mark scheme answers, right? So that's the thing. After you finish reviewing units 1 through 4 from the syllabus, at least when you go through the past papers, you'll be kind of knowing where to go on in the textbook to see where the information came from, how you can better prepare yourself to write your answers better. Okay. And as a homework, I had given you guys to write the page numbers for these different subsections. So what I'll do is, to save you time, I will, in the reply section of this video, write the page numbers for you so that you guys don't have to look it up yourself, save you some time when you start looking for stuff in the textbook. Okay. All right. Good luck and let me know.